What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. And in today's video we are going to be building a gaming website with React.js and then Tailwind CSS. So let's quickly get into the demo and see what we'll be building today. So as you can see here, we have this nice looking header here with this logo, and then this tabs and a button here as well. We also have this text here with a linear gradient button and this nice looking image here as well. And also you realize once you scroll, the items start to swing to the top, they start to fly to the top. We are going to see how we can do this with React Reveal in a very simple way. Now we have this simple heading here with a button, and when you hover on the cards here, you realize they scale, they zoom out. So we are going to see how we can do that in Tailwind CSS as well. And we have this nice looking Call of Duty banner here, and then we have this cards here. So when you hover on it, you realize it gives this pulse effect. It sort of blinks, right? So we're going to see how we can do this in Tailwind CSS. And we have this simple looking footer here as well. So this is what we're going to be building today with React. If this looks nice and this looks interesting, do well to hit the like button and also smash the subscribe button as well if you are new to this channel. And also this is a mobile responsive website as well. You can check that here. It's a completely mobile responsive website. Now you can see it is the navigation bar now turns to this hamburger menu, and then you have all these items well aligned. You have the image aligned here, we have the button, we have this card here. The cards are well aligned, and I mean it's mobile, completely mobile responsive and desktop responsive as well. Everything fits your screen and everything. It has this smooth scroll as well. So if this sounds interesting, do well to hit the like button if you are really hyped to build this project and add it to your portfolio. You can do well to hit the like button and then subscribe to the channel as well if you are new to the channel. Great. So let's quickly get into the project and start building this website. Let's quickly start building this website. So the first thing we want to do now is to create a new folder, and then we're going to name it gaming website and then YT for YouTube. Now you can name it whatever you want, but I'm choosing to name it gaming website. And then I'm going to say open it in a terminal. So when I open it in the terminal, I'm going to first of all bootstrap our project with Create React App. Now Create React App is going to install all the necessary dependencies we need to begin building our projects in React. So I'm going to say npx create React App and then add this dot here. Now this dot here simply means it should create or make all the installation and create all the necessary files within the same folder I have here, which is the gaming website YT. Now you can, instead of, in place of the full stop, you can add a name, right, or a new name. Now when you do that, it's going to create a new folder and then install all the dependencies within that folder. So I just wanted to install it within the same folder, that's why I'm using the dot. Now this is going to take a couple of minutes, so when it's done installing, then we quickly begin building it and writing our React website. Okay, so the installation is done. We've successfully installed all the necessary dependencies we need to start building our React app. So I'm going to do code dot to open in VS Code for me. Yes, I trust the author. Let me expand this window a little. Okay, so this is now opened in VS Code for us, and all the necessary files and dependencies we need are successfully installed, and we can now start building our React app. Okay, now we first also need to install Tailwind CSS. We need to make the setup for Tailwind CSS. So let's quickly go to Tailwind CSS and then see how we can also do that. So Tailwind CSS, and then you hit get started, and then we choose a framework. So I'm going to say framework guide, and then we choose create React app because that's the framework we are using, which is create React app. Now npx create React app my project, we've already done this step, so we just quickly move here and say npm install the Tailwind CSS. So I'll open the terminal here, and then I'll paste in the command here to install Tailwind CSS. And then the next thing is to do npx Tailwind CSS in it. So when this is done installing, I'm going to initialize a new Tailwind config file. So it's going to create a Tailwind config file here for us. And then the next thing is to add this line within the Tailwind config inside the contents array. I'm going to paste it in here. So what this simply means is Tailwind CSS should take effect within the SRC folder, and then within every file which has the .js extension or the .jsx and .ts or tsx extension. So that's what this line basically means. And then we are going to copy this code here inside the index.css file. So I'm going to open the index.css file and then clear everything that's here and then paste this here like so. Okay, let's see what's next. I think that's all. So the next, now we can now start our React app. So I'm going to do npm start, and this should start our React app for us. Great. Now if you get this spinning React icon or React logo, then it means you've successfully installed React and everything should be working fine. Now let's see if Tailwind CSS is also working. So I'm going to copy this line here, which has a simple Tailwind styling, to see if it's going to take effect. So I'm going to, within the app.js file, let me remove the terminal. Within the app.js file, I'm going to clear these things because we don't need them. That's the default template from Create React App. And then let me paste the code I copied from Tailwind. So we are saying that this H1 text should have a text of 3XL, and then the font should be bold and it should be underlined. Now if you go back and we see this, then it means Tailwind is working. Great. So as you can see, the text is bold and then it is underlined as well. Okay, great. So now Tailwind, it means Tailwind is working and we can quickly start building our app. So let me clear this and then let me clear what I've just done. Okay, so since this is going to, the app.js is going to be the entrance of our app, all our components is going to be within the app.js. I'm going to say, instead of having the div here, I'm going to use main, right? And then now I want all the text on the website to take the color white, right? By default it is black. I want to make it white, so I'm just going to say text should be white. So this is just how Tailwind works. You don't have to create a new CSS file and then be giving class names and then go entry into the CSS file and start giving the styles and all those hard work. So we can just simply say text white and it's going to make all the text on our website be white. So this simply means we don't need the app.css file, so we can just delete it. Okay, so now the next thing we want to do is so you realize now this is what we have this blank white space here. So let's quickly change the color, the background color, to what we have here. So to do this, I'm going to target the body, right? I'm going to target the body of the website. So I'm going to open within the index.css file where we have this code here. I'm going to target the body. So to do this, I'm going to say at layer, and then I choose the base layer, and then I'm going to say the body. For the body, do this. So I'm going to apply some Tailwind CSS styles. So I'm going to say bg, and then I'm going to add some hex code. Now this hex code must be in an array. So I'm going to say hash and then 070320. Now since this is a custom color I'm adding, it needs to be in an array like so. So now when we go back, it should have the color I need here. So now we've gotten the color as it is here. Great. So the next thing we want to do now is to start designing start building the header. Let me scroll this down a little so that we see all the necessary changes we are making. So first, in the app.js file, I'm going to add in a component here, which is the header. Now this is going to give us an error because we haven't created the header component. I'm going to create it. So within the SRC folder, I'm going to create a new folder and say components, and then within components I'm going to create a new file and say header.js, and then we've just created it. So I'm going to say rafc. This is going to give me the boilerplate I need to start building my components. Now this is an extension I installed, which is ES7 snippets, right? So you can also install it on VS Code. or you can just copy this code or type in this code as well. So within app.js, now I can now import this header component I've just created. Great. So as you can see, we have the header here. Now let's start building it. So for the header, let's quickly start styling it. And the first thing is to style the main header, right? So I'm going to say the main div is going to take this style. I'm going to say it should have an absolute position, right? And the width should be full. The width should be full, and then the height should be 5 rems, right? And once the text is already white, so we can just leave it as it is. Right, so to see the actual difference, let me say the bgin should be white to see what we've done. Okay, so this is the height we've defined, and then it has taken the full width as well. Okay, so this is just to see what we've done. So let me clear the color. Now the next thing is to have this div, which is going to contain all the items we need to have in the header. So now building responsive websites using Tailwind simply means we are building for mobile first, right? So we are building mobile first view. Now by mobile first, it simply means we are designing with mobile view in our head as the first option. Okay, so what we are going to do now is say, I'm going to say hidden. Now this hidden simply means that by default or on the first view, this header should be hidden. This header I'm designing should be hidden. This is because it is mobile first view. Because if like I demonstrated at the start, you realize we didn't see the header. We only saw a hamburger menu there, right? So it simply means on the mobile view, the header is hidden, right? That's the whole idea of mobile first view. So we Tailwind designs in mobile first view, right? So first thing is it's going to be hidden, meaning on mobile view, the header is going to be hidden. But then when it hits the LG breakpoints, meaning when we have a more large screen, it should be flex. And by flex, it's going to display, basically. It's going to display. And then I'm going to say items center, and then the width should be full, and also the height should also be full. The height is going to take the one as the parent div, so the height is going to be full. And then when it reaches the XL breakpoint, we want to set a max width. Now we don't want the width of the screen we don't want the header to always take the full width of the screen, because considering you are using a huge monitor, right? We don't want the header to expand that much to the huge monitor. I want to set a limit, right? I want to set a maximum width on a certain screen width. So that's why we are going to set this XL. So we're going to say on the XL breakpoint, we want the maximum width to be 1250 pixels. So I'm going to say 1250 pixels. And then we want it to always be in the center, so it's going to be margin on the x-axis, mx should be auto, right? So this is how like simple Tailwind CSS is. You just add these utility classes and then your work is done. So mx auto, margin on the x-axis should be auto, and then padding on the x-axis should be 4, not 0, like so. So this is what we have here now. Now the next thing we want to do is within this div we add the logo. So I'm going to say p, and then we put in this logo. So let's quickly style it. I'm going to say class name, and then the font should be bold, right? And then we want the text to be 1.5 rems. And then what else? Let's say the cursor should be pointer, right? Like so. Great. So the next thing we want to do now is to add this nav items here. I want to add this nav items here. So let's quickly do that. So underneath the text, we're going to create a new div, right? We're going to create a new div, and then let's style it. So for this div, we're going to say we want it to be flex1, which simply means it should take all the available space in the header, right? So flex1, and then it should be flexed, which means all the items should be on the sides of each other, and then items center, and then justify end, because we want it to be at the far end. and then we want the space on the x-axis to be 10, right? Meaning the spaces between them should take the 10 units. All right, so now let's add this ul tag, which is on ordered list, to add the list items we will be using, which is the nav links. So the first item is going to be who, right? So let's start the first airline. So I'm going to say class name, and then the text should be small, so text sm, and then I'm going to say the cursor should be pointer. Cursor should be pointer, and then when you hover on it, when you hover on the text, you want the text to take this gray color. So I'm going to say gray 200. You want to change the text color when we hover on it. All right, so let's duplicate these items and then change the name here to about us. So about us, and then this one is going to be portfolio, and then we now have news, like so. Great, now they are on top of each other. Let's fix that. We want it to be by the sides of each other, so I'm going to say flex, and it's quickly going to be on the sides of each other. And then I'm going to say it should be items. The items should align centrally, and then we want to space them out, giving it space x6 for them to space out. Great. Now after we've added this nav links, now let's add the button, right? I'm going to create the button. So the button has this contact as title, and then let's style it as well. So for the style, we are going to let the width be 8 rem, and then padding on the y-axis should also be 2, and then let's set the background to this hex code, which is D80027. So D80027. You get this reddish color here, and then we are going to round it a little. So I'm going to say rounded MD. Right, so the pattern is going to be rounded, right? So the next thing we want to do is to add the hamburger menu. So you notice when we the screen size decreases, right? When the screen size decreases, we get this hamburger menu on the side. Now we need to add that hamburger menu as well, but first we need to install a package where we can get the icons from. So I'm going to say npm I react icons, because that's the package we'll be using. Npm I react icons. So this is going to install React icons for us. So when we head over to the documentation for React icons, we are going to see the different icons we can get. So we have this documentation. We quickly do npm install React icons, which we've already done, and it's going to install the icons for us, and this is how we use it. So we do import and then the name of the icon from React icon, and each icon comes from a specific model. So FA means font awesome, right? So FA here is the beginning of the name of the icon, so we simply add it to the model. So now the one we want to use is the menu icon. So this is the icon we want to use, AI outline menu. So when we go back here, we've now installed the React icons, so now we can start using it. So now let's do this. So we're going to say we have a div in here, and then we are going to paste in the icon we just copied, right? So let's see, we want the size to be, let's use 18, and then the class name, let's see. So for the class name, we are going to see on LG breakpoint. So when the screen is large, right, on the LG breakpoint, we want to hide it, because you realize that we only show the navigation when the screen is large, but then when the screen is small, we want to hide it. So that's why you have this LG hidden here. Great. So let's say class name, let's start the div it's in. So I'm going to say the width should be full, and then the height should also be full. and then we want to say flex, and then items center, and then padding on the x-axis should be 4, like so. So let's import, because we're going to get an error right now. So let's import this. I'm going to say import, and then let me paste it in here from React icons, and then add a model which is AI, like so. So we are still getting an error here. Let me refresh this. Okay, so for some reason the nav icon is still showing, which it shouldn't be. So let's see. Okay, so there's an error here. I have this typo here. It's supposed to be hidden, not hidden. So it's a typo. Yes, so now it should be gone. Great. So when we resize the screen, you realize now the header is gone, and then we have this navigation icon, this hamburger menu icon here. So let me sort of change the screens. You realize, yeah, so now we have this navigation, and then we quickly have this hamburger menu. That's exactly what we want. So that will be it for the header. Now we are done with the header. So the next thing we want to do is build this hero section here. So that's what we are going to be building next, the hero section. So let's move back to the app.js, our app.js file, and then we are going to do something here. Now, just like what we did for the header, we're going to do a similar thing, which is to keep a maximum width, just so when we are on a larger screen size, the website doesn't force itself to cover the whole screen. So first of all, we're going to say the width should be full. Okay, the width should be full. This is for mobile view. So on mobile phones, we want the width to be full. But then on larger screens, right, on the XL breakpoint, we are going to give it a maximum width. So the max width should be 1250 pixels, like just like for the header. So 1250 pixels, and then we're going to say mx to be auto, and then padding on the x-axis should be 4, basically. So now this is where we're going to be adding our remaining components. So the next one we want to do is add a hero section here. So I'm going to say hero, and then within the components folder, I'm going to create the hero file. I'm going to say hero.js. I'm going to say rafce to give us our nice boilerplate, and then now we can import it. So we've imported the hero section, and we can now start building it. Okay, so for the hero section, let's quickly start styling it. So I'm going to paste in the class here and then explain it afterwards. Okay, so this is the style. So we are saying everything inside this div should be flex, and then flex column, meaning it should be on top of each other. Now note that this is for mobile first, and then on the XL breakpoints, meaning on larger screens, we want it to be in the form flex row, and then on XL, which means on larger screens, we want the height to take the full screen, which is height screen. We want it to take the full view height of the screen, and then we are going to say item should be center, and then padding on top should be 5 frames, and we want the width to be full as well. Okay, so the next thing we want to add is this div, and we are also going to style this div. But first, let's add a text here, which is proved by Pro Designer. By Pro Designer. Proved by. Let me bring this one here so that we see what's happening. So proved by Pro Designer, and then we add this h1 here as well, where we are going to see work that we produce for our clients. So we are going to say work that we produce for our clients. So let's quickly start styling it. So first of all, let's style this div. So I'm going to say class name, and I'm going to paste in the style here. Okay, and also let's style the text here as well. So I'm going to say class name, and we want the text color to take this hex code, which is E87D0E. So E87D0 and then E. It's going to take this hex code, and then we want the font to be medium. So font medium simply means, when you hover on it, font medium simply means what the font width should be 500 basically. So let's now style the H1 here, text here as well. So class name, and then I'm going to say the text should be of size 2 rems, and then the font should be bold. We want the font to be bold, and we want the width to be full, the width of the text to be full. To take the width, the text should take the full width. But then on larger screens, on Excel, we want it to only take, we want the width to only be 25 rems. All right, so we get this text here. Okay, so the next thing is to add this subheading also, which is a lorem ipsum text that I'm going to paste in here. And let's style that text as well. I'm going to say the text should be extra small, which is XS, and then we want the width to be full. That's for mobile screens. The text should take the full width, but then on large screens we want the width to be 19 rems, like so. And then the text should have the color gray 200, like so. So you get this slightly dark looking color. So now the final part for that particular section is to add this button. We have to add a button, right? And then this button has text, get more details, get more details. Okay, so I'm going to quickly paste in the styling for this, and then I'm going to explain that as well. Okay, so this is the styling for the button. So first of all, I'm saying that the text within the button should be small, right? This is the size. We want the text size should be small, and then the width of the button should be 10 rems. And then within the button, we want the padding Y on the padding on the Y axis to take 2 units, and then we want the button to be fully rounded, right? So that's the rounded full. And now to add this gradient color, we do BG gradient to right, meaning we want the gradient color to start from the left and then move to the right. So basically we are saying the gradient should move to the right. So we are saying to the right, and then then you define the first color, right? So from this first color, which is this reddish looking color, and then to this color as well. So basically that's how we are able to add this gradient looking button as well. Okay, so the next thing we want to add is the image on the right side, right? We want to add the image on the right side. So we put it within this div, and then we style this div. We're going to say flex, and then items. But before we start it, let's first add the image so that we see the changes take effect. Okay, so let me first of all, right now we don't have the image, so let me add it within our directories here. So let me, within the src folder, I'm going to paste it in here. Okay, let me just drag and drop it. Let me drag and drop it from the directories. So I'm going to say images. This images, I'm going to place it within the src folder. So now we have a folder containing all the images we'll be using. We have it here, and now let's start adding let's add the image we need. So I'm going to say inside this div, I'm going to say img, and then we define the source. All right, we define the source. So we're going to say require, and then define the path. So it's going to get out one step, and then enter the images folder, and then the name of the image we need is the hero.png. So it should get the image here. So right now we have the image, right, but it doesn't really look good. It looks, the positioning is bad. So let's fix this. So that's going to be within this div. So I'm going to say flex and then items center, and then I'm going to justify it in the center as well. And then I'm going to say flex 1 to take all the available space, and then the height should be full, like so. So then we get this nice looking image, well positioned in the center. Great. So that's that for the hero section. The next part we want to do is the next part we want to do is this trending section we have here, where we have this heading and then the button and this card. So that's the next thing we want to do. So let's quickly add that inside our app.js. Within our app.js, we're going to add the trending component. I'm going to add the trending. Now when you check, okay, you are getting this error because we haven't created this component. So let's quickly create it. New file, trending.js, add our refc to get our nice boilerplate. Clear this. Now we can import it. Imported it. Great. Now let's check how responsive this part is. So you realize when the screen is small, it's, instead of being flexed, it now becomes on top of each other. Right? It's stacked on top of each other, just like how we want it. That's how simple it is to build responsive websites with Tailwind CSS. Okay. So now let's get back to building the trending screen as well. So for the trending part, let's see what we have. So we have this text and then a button. So we can just add these items and then put them into a flex form to be at the side of each other, and then we justify them between, so that it creates some sort of space in between them. Okay, so now let's start building this. I want to say class name, and we want the width to be full and padding on the y-axis to be 4 rems. Okay, and then the next thing we want to do now is add this div. We are going to see add this text, which is currently let's see, currently trending games. And we also add this button. We add this button with the text see all. Now we are going to style it. So I'm going to paste in the styling for this main div, but first of all, let me add this within the app.js. Let me add this dummy div to create some sort of spacing underneath our page. So I'm going to say div so that we can easily see the changes. So I'm going to make the height let me say 10 rems, so that we can scroll and then see the changes easily. All right, so I'm going to now paste in the styling for this p text. Let's say class name, and then I'm going to paste the styling inside. So for the styling, we are simply saying the text should be of size 1.4 rems, and then the font should be bold, and we want the text to be white as well. Now I'm also going to paste in the styling for the button. So this is the styling for the button as well. So for the button, we are setting this background color, and we want the text within it to be white. So we don't even really need to add a text color. So let me clear this out, because we've already defined it at the start of our app. So we can clear it out and our text will still be white. And then we want the width of our button to be 7 rems, and then padding on the y-axis for this button should be 3, and then the text should be small, and we want it to be rounded with LG as well. Great, but then it looks like they're on top of each other, which isn't exactly what we want. So we have to style the div within which these items are. So I'm going to paste in the class the styling for that one as well. So let's explain what we have here. So you can now see that the button has moved to the right side. So for this div, you are saying that you are first saying flex, which means it should be on the sides of each other, right? But then it should also be flex column. And now this is for mobile view. For mobile view, you don't want it to be on the sides of each other. You want it to be flexed, to have this flex column effect. It should be on top. It should be stacked on top of each other. And I want the space on the y-axis to be 4, meaning it should be spaced between the space between them should take 4 units. But then on the XL breakpoint, which means on large screens, we want it to be flex row. And then on XL, we want the space Y to be 0. We don't want any space on the y-axis. And then we have this item center and then justify center. Now for the text also, we want to see text center. All right, this is going to be for mobile view. So let's see what we have here. Okay, so this is what we have. We have the text here and then we have the button. And when we open our console and try and see with the changes, let's scroll to now you see it quickly changes. It stacks on each other just like how we want it to be, and then the text is also in the center as well. Great, exactly what we want. All right, let's continue writing our code. Okay, so the next thing we want to add is we are going to build is this cards here, right? We have these cards where we have this 40 followers here. So that's the next thing we want to do. So let's quickly do that as well. So we're going to have them in a div. Let's bring this here. We're going to have them in a div, and then we're going to create a component called trending card, right? So I need to add this component, and then I'm going to see, let me paste in the styling for this as well. But first, let me create the component so that we stop getting this error. So back here, and then components, I'm going to create a new file, paste it in here, .js, say RAFCE, trending cards, and then I'm going to import it here. Great, so let me paste in, let's refresh the page. I'm going to paste in the styling here. So this is the styling we have. So for that particular div, we are saying that the item should be flex. Okay, before that, let me build the trending cards first, and then we are going to understand this this styling. So but first of all, let me duplicate this. Let's duplicate this to 4 cards, right? So trending cards, we want 4 cards because they are 4. Okay, so we have them stacked by each other's size here, and let's start building them. Let's start building the trending card. So for the trending card, we're going to have this div here, and I'm going to see class name, and first of all we want it to be flex, and we also want it to be flex column, and we want the items to be in the center, and margin at the top should be 2 rems, right? And we're also going to have this div. Now this div is going to contain the image, so we are going to style it as well. So first of all, we want it to be rounded. We want the image to be rounded to XL, and then we are going to say cursor pointer, and then we are going to say overflow should be hidden, meaning anything that tries to get out of this particular div should be hidden, and I'm going to see why. And also the image, we can now add our image, and then the source of the image is going to be, we are going to require it. So we are going to say require, and then we set the path. So we're going to go out one step, and then within the images folder we target the card1.png image, and this is going to add this image for us. Wait, that's what we can see here. Now we have this image here, and then let's start the image. So for the image, we are going to add this style. So you notice when you hover on it, on the demo we did, when you hover on it, it scales, the image zooms out. That's what we're going to do here. So we are going to say hover. When we hover on it, we want it to scale by 110. All right, we want it to scale by 110, and then the duration. Now when by default it scales too quickly like this, and we don't want that. We want it to take a little time before it scales, right? So that's why we are going to add this duration. We're going to say the duration should be 300 milliseconds. Now when I scroll, it zooms out smoothly like so. Great. So now we need to add the text underneath it, which is the 40 followers. So I'm going to say p and then add the text 40 followers. But before that, we need to put it in a div so that we can add the fire icon there. So I'm going to first say the name of the icon we are going to use is BS Fire. All right, BS Fire from React Icons. So you can check the icon module or the documentation. I'm going to find this icon there. So I'm going to import it. Import BS Fire from React Icons from the BS module, like so. And we want the color. Okay, the color is already white, so we don't even have to define it. So let's add the text. So for the text, I'm going to say 40 followers, like so. 40 followers, and let's start the text. For the text, first of all, we just want the font to be medium, like so. And now let's start the div within which they are, because we want them to be by the sides of each other and not stacked on top of each other. So I'm going to say flex and then items center, and also you want to have some space between them. So I'm going to say space x should be 1, and then margin on top should also be 4, like so. Great. So now we have all these, we have these cards here looking exactly how we want them. Now we don't want them to have this same image across. So that's where we now use the reusable components option we have with React. So instead of having this hard-coded image here, I'm going to have this prop here, and I'm going to call it image. And then this, instead of having the image here, I'm going to put in the prop here, and I'm going to put in the image prop we just added here. So now when we go back to the trending screen, now every trending card components requires an image prop. Okay, so I'm going to define the image prop and then add the image there, like so. So now this card alone has this image, and I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to set the image prop here to the same require, but instead of card 1, I'm going to do card 2, because that's the name of the image. So I'm going to say card 2, and then the image should change to what we have here. So let me just copy everything here, and I'm going to paste it here, and then change this to card 3, and then paste this one here, paste this one out, and then this is going to be card 4. Now these images, I've already added them, so I dragged and dropped them here, and I've pasted all the necessary images we'll be using. So within the SRC folder, we have this images folder where we have all the images we need to use. Okay, so that's that, and that will be all for the trending section. We've added the card, and then we've added the title, and then the button as well. Now let me explain what we have here. So for the div within which they are, so we are saying that let me expand this so that everything is visible. So we are saying that first of all, on mobile screen, we want we want it to be flex and then flex wrap. So flex wrap simply means once the screen size reduces, it should start wrapping itself around each other. So when the screen size reduces, it will wrap. So one component will come underneath the other, the next one will come underneath the other. So they're basically wrapping. And then we want the items to be center, and then we want to justify it in the center as well. But then on large screens, which is the Excel breakpoints, we are saying it should be justified between, meaning it will be flex, but then it will be justified between, meaning they will just spread out horizontally. And then we want the on SM breakpoints, we want to create a space on the x-axis of 4, and also on the XL breakpoints, we want the space x to be 0, and then the margin top of 4 rems. So to see this, when we open our developer console and try to resize, we're going to see the wrap take effect here. So we're going to see it to start wrapping itself till it reaches a point where they are all on top of each other, like so, exactly how we want it. So now everything is mobile responsive and mobile friendly as we want it to be. Okay, so now let's go back to what we want to do next. So the next thing we want to add is this banner here where we have the Call of Duty image here. So that's what we are going to do next. So inside our app.js, we are going to add in a new component, and we are going to say COD, which simply means Call of Duty. Now we're going to get an error because we have not created it, so let's create it. COD.js, and I'm going to say RAFCE, and let's clear this. Now we can now go back and then import COD. So when you come back here, and now we have COD here, and we can now start building it. Let's start building the COD. Let's reduce this and start building the COD. So the first thing we want to do is, for the COD, let's style the div. So I'm going to say, for this, you want the width to be full, and also padding on the y-axis should be 2 rems. So that's the first thing we want to do. And also we want to add this p text and add the class name text. The text should be 1.5 rem. But first of all, let me paste in the text we need here. So I'm going to, let me just type it out. Stay up to date on all the latest in gaming and entertainment, like so. Now we can style it. So the text should be 1.5 rems. Let me reduce this so that we see the changes. The text should be 1.5 rems, and we want the font to be bold, and then the text should be in the center, like so. Okay, so the next thing is to have this div here. So this is the heading that we've just created, and now we want to add this text here as well. So let's do that. So that's why we have this div here. And for this div, we are going to say that margin at the top should be 6 rems, and let's add the p tag for the first text. So step into mayhem, that's the text. Step into mayhem, and we can style this as well. I'm going to say the text should be 1.3 rems, and the font should be medium sized or weighted, and then the text should also be centered. That's going to be for mobile devices. The text is going to be in center. And then on large screens, we want the text to start, so it will be aligned at the start, like so. All right, now that's the next thing is the subheading, where I'm going to paste in the text in here. So we have the text here, and for the div, for the p tag, we are going to style it, and we are going to see for the p tag, let me paste in the style here. So we have the text here. So we are simply saying that for the p tag, we want the text to be small, but then on XL breakpoints on the larger screen, we want the width of the text to be 20 rems, and we want the text to be in the center. That's going to be for mobile device, but then on larger screens, the text is going to be start. It's going to be aligned on the left side, and then the text color should be gray with 100 shade. Okay, so that's going to be that. And now we want to add the image. The next thing is to add the image, the Call of Duty image we have here, this image. So that's what we are coming to add now. So for that one, it's going to be also be inside the div, and for the div, we are going to style it and say the width should be full, meaning the width should be 100%, and then margin at the top should be 2 rems. Now we can add the image, and I'm going to see the source should be required from 2 steps out, and then we're going to say images, and then cod.png. so this is the image we want to add here. So when we scroll down, now we get the image right here like we want it. Great. So that's going to be that for the COD section. And the next thing is to add this section here, which is the game center section, and that's the next thing we want to add. So inside our app.js, we are going to add the game center. Let's add the game centers components. Let me copy this and then create the components .js. I'm going to say rfce, clear this, and then we go back to app.js and then import it. We import the game centers components. So let's start building the game center. And then let's change the tab and then start building the game centers components. So for the main div or the parent div, we are going to see it should have a full width, and then padding on the y-axis should be 6 rems. Okay, and then we have this div here as well, where it's going to contain some other stuff. So first of all, we are going to add the text, which is our game centers, and we are going to style this text. So for this text, we are going to say the text should have the size 1.4 rems, and then the font should be bold, and then the text should be in the center. Right, so it will quickly move to the center here, as you can see. And the next one is to add this text, this p tag, and then I'm going to paste in the contents here. So that's the text, and then let's style it. So for the text, we want the text to be small, and then we want the text color to be gray, and then take the 50 shade, and we want the text to be in the center, and the margin at the top should be 4, like so. So that's going to be that for the text. Now let's add this div which is going to contain the other cards, the remaining cards with the images of the game centers. Okay, so let me add an image here, and then for the image is going to be coming from the source. We are going to require that from the images folder, and then we are going to say center1.png, and we are going to style it. So for the image, let me resize this so we see everything. So for the image, we are going to style it and say we want margin at the top to be 2 rems. And when you hover on it, you want to add an animation, right? So I'm going to say animate pulse. So whereas in the demo we did, when we animated it, we had this pulse effect, we had this blinking effect. So that's this simple hover animate pulse gives us that effect, right? As simple as that. So cursor, and then I'm going to say pointer. So when you hover on it, you have this cursor pointer, and then you see the pulse effects from it as well. So I'm going to duplicate this line about 6 times, and then we change the image. We have center 1 to center 2, center 3, center 4, center 5, and then center 6, like so. So we have the images here now. Now let's style them. So to style them, we are going to style the div within which the images are. So I'm going to paste in the styling here. So let me zoom, let me bring this out a little, and then paste this here, and then I'm going to explain. So we are simply saying that first of all, this is the image, right? So just like how we did for the cards, we want it to flex and then flex wrap, right? By default we want it to wrap, but then we also want it to take a grid, right? So I'm using a grid here also. For the grid, we are using a grid because we want to specify the number of images that is going to be aligned at a time. Because what we have here, we have 3 images aligned at a time, right? Because that's how we want it to be. We don't want more than 3 images aligned at a time. So we are going to use the grid. So we are saying that on a larger screen, instead of flex, we are using a grid, and then we want it to take the grid columns should be 3, right? That's why I have this grid calls 3. And also on the SM breakpoints, meaning on SM breakpoints, we want the space X to be 6, meaning it should space out with the 6 units, and we want items to be aligned centrally and it's justified in the center as well. So that's why we have this here. So now when we check our developer console and try to resize, we are going to see everything take effect and see how mobile responsive it is. So you realize everything is automatically wrapping, and we have them aligned as well on top of each other on mobile screens, exactly how we want it to be. And that's how simple it is to build responsive websites with Tailwind CSS. Okay, so the next thing is to add the see all button, right? We want to add the see all button we have in here. So that's the next thing we want to add. So let's bring back our VS Code and then add the button. So we're going to put it inside a div, right? And for the div, we're going to start the div. We want the div to be width full, and then flex, and then items in the center, and I want to justify it in the center as well. And also we are going to see margin on the y-axis should be 4 rems. Okay, so now let's add the button. So the button the button is similar to what we did with the trending section. So I'm going to simply copy the same button here. We could have made this a component and just reuse it, but since we are only using it 2 times in the website, so we can just simply add them here, copy and paste them. So we have this button here as well, the see all button. Okay, so now we have the see all button here, we have this card here as well, and it's looking like what we have here. We are now getting there, we are almost done. we've added the banner, we've added the hero section, after this Call of Duty, the cards, and then this game centers as well. So the final part to add is the footer, right? So we need to add the footer. So let's get back and then open our app.js and then add in the footer. All right, so we're going to add in the footer here. So let's now create the footer inside our components folder. File and then paste it here. .js rafce, and we can now go back and then import. We can now go back and then import the footer. So now the footer is imported. So let's start styling the footer. Let's start building the footer. Okay, so the first thing we want to do for the footer is let's start the main div here. Let me scroll down. Start the main div here. So we are going to see on the XL breakpoints, meaning on large screens, you want the height of the footer to be 10 rems, right? And then we want the width to be full, and then we want the background to be white, and then so we can see the changes take effect here. And we want the text to also be black, and then we want padding on the y-axis to be 4, right? So now we are getting this space underneath it because we added this control code or this dummy div button here so that we can easily scroll through whilst we see the changes. So we can now clear this, and then it should go back to default. Okay, so now let's go back to designing or building our footer. So the next thing we want to do is add this div here. And now let's start it. So let me paste. I'm going to paste in the code here, and then I'm going to explain. Okay, so we have it here. So for this div, we are saying that the width should also be full, and this is for mobile views, right? The width should be full, and then the height should also be full. But then on large screens, we want the maximum width for this div to be 1250 pixels, meaning we don't want the items to expand by the so if the your monitor size is very large, we don't want the items to expand that size. Like, we want to set a maximum width. Okay, we want to set the limits. And also we are saying the mx auto, so everything is going to be in the center, and then padding on the x-axis should be 4, and flex column. Now this flex column is going to happen when it's on a mobile device, right? When it's on a smaller screen view. And then but then on larger screens, which is the XL breakpoints, the flex is going to be roaming. It's going to be on the sides of each other, and items will be center, like so. Okay, so the next thing is to add this div where we are going to have the text, which is stay in the loop, subscribe to receive blah blah blah. So we're going to add that. So the first text is stay in the loop, and then the next text, which I'm not going to type it out, I'm simply going to paste it. Let's paste it like so. Let's resize this so that we see the changes as they happen. Now let's start it. But first of all, for the div, we are going to say for the div we want it to be flex1, which means it should take all the available space, right? It should expand to all the available space. And for the first text, which is stay in the loop, we are going to style it. We are going to say the text should be of size 1.3 rems, and then we want the font to be medium, and we want the text to be in the center. And also on the XL breakpoint, we want the text to start, right? So we want it to align at the start. So there's a typo here. So text starts. So that's going to be for the XL breakpoint, meaning on large screens. Now let's start this one as well. So we are going to see for that one, the text should be small, and the margin on the top should be 2. And then we are going to say the text should be in the center. That's for mobile view. But then on large screens, you want the text to start like so. Great. So the next thing now is to add the newsletter, the email section. So I'm going to add this div, and let's style this div as well. So for this div, let me bring this here so that we also see the changes. So for this div, we are going to see padding on the x-axis should be 1 rem, and it should be flex. And then once items justified at the end, meaning it should align itself at the far end of the right side, and the margin top should be 4. And on large screens, which is XL, we want the margin top to be 0, like so. Also, let's add a new div, and I'm going to paste in the style for that one as well. So that's the styling. You get this nice looking div here. So we are simply saying that for this div, the height should be 3 rems, and then the width should be full, right? So when the width should be full, and this width full simply is going to take effect on smaller screens, right? And also on large screens, we now set a specific width. So on large screens, we want the width to be 26 rems. That's why we have this width here. So this width is 26 rems. And then we want the background to be black. We have this black background. I want it to be rounded LG. So we have this, the edges rounded a little, and flex, meaning display flex, and then item center. I want padding all around to be 1. So that's simply what we have here. Now let's add the input field, right? So for this input, we are going to say that type should be text, and then the placeholder is going to be enter email address, and we can style it. So I'm going to paste in the styling here as well. But first, before I paste it, let's see what we have here. So by default, when you add the input field, you get this white background, and when you take effect, you have this border, and then you have this. We don't want that. We don't want none of that. So we can now paste in the styling to see the changes. So when you paste in here, you now have something like this. So we have the text field here, and then we have the placeholder text here as well, which is enter email address. Now when we go back to the code, we are simply saying that we don't want any border. So we are saying border should be 0. We don't want any outline, which is outline none. And then the text should be small. And we are saying flex 1, meaning it should span out to all the available space within the div it's in. Let me remove this here. It's not supposed to be there. And then we are saying padding x, meaning padding on the x-axis should be 2. And then the background should be transparent. So you realize at first the background was white, but now we are saying the background should be transparent, and then the text should be white, and then we are changing the placeholder color here as well. So that's what we have here, and everything is looking nice. Okay, so now we want to add the button here, this continue button. That's the final thing we are going to add. So underneath the input field, we are going to add this button. Now this button is going to take the text continue, and then we can now style the button. Say class name, and then I'm going to say the height should be full, and then padding on the x-axis should be 4, and then on the XL breakpoint you want the width to be 8 rems, and the background should take this red color, which is hash and then D80027, so D800 and then 27, like so. And I want it to be rounded a little, so I'm going to say rounded LG, and then the text should be small. Yes, so basically that's the button we have here. Yes, so we are basically done with all the necessary things we need on our website. We have the header, we have this hero section with this text there and this nice looking image, and we have these cards, trending cards of games, and we have this Call of Duty banner, and we have our game centers here as well, and this nice looking footer. Now the final thing we want to add is the scroll effect. So when you get this swing up feeling from the components, you realize they swing to the top. That's the final thing we want to add. Now to do this, we move to React Reveal, because that's the component we want to use. React Reveal, and React Reveal has this simple documentation that we can use. Now the effects we want to use is the fade effect. So first of all, this is the documentation we have. So npm install React Reveal. I'm going to copy this so that we install it. So I'm going to open the terminal, split the terminal, paste the command here. Now if you only run this code, you're going to get an error, but to fix that error, to bypass that error, I'm going to add this flag, this false flag, right, so that it installs, it goes ahead and installs the package for us. Okay, so now we've added React Reveal, and now we can start using it. So when you open the fade effects here, you get this option. You can either fade from the left or from the right, but you want to fade from the bottom right, because that's the effects you want. So to use this, you simply import fade from React Reveal fade, and then you wrap the fade component around the components which you want it to fade. Okay, so what this simply means is, for instance, when you go back to our code, right, when you go back to what we have in here and open our hero, so the installation is done, so I can now close it and open our hero section, right? So when I open the hero section, I can now import the feed, import it here like so, and I'm going to wrap the fade components around this this div. Okay, I'm going to wrap it around this div. Let me close the div here. I'm going to wrap the fade components around this div. So I'm going to say fade, and this fade is going to take a prop, which is simply bottom, which defines where we want it to fade from. So I'm going to cut this out and then paste it in here so that it wraps around it. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to say fade, set the prop to bottom like so, cut this here and then place it here. So now when you come back here and I refresh the page, you see it's going to swing to the top, exactly what we want it to do. So you basically wrap the fade around the components which you want to fade, right? So the next one we want to wrap is the currently trending. So when we open, we go back and then we open the trending components, right? We open the trending. When we open the trending, let me copy this thing again. So when I open the trending, I can now import the feed and then the div containing the header, right? So I'm going to now say feed bottom, and then I'm going to now close it here like so, and then I'm going to do the same thing for the cards as well. So I'm going to say feed bottom, and then at the bottom we are going to close it. So now when you come back here, you see how it fades to the top. So I'm going to refresh the page, and then we get this fading. So we move to the next component, which is the COD. We once again import it, and then we do the same thing. First of all, we wrap around the text here. Wrap around the text here, and then do the same for this text, and then we do for the COD image as well, the Call of Duty image banner as well. So now when you come here, you realize they are all fading to the top. So we get this, then we get the banner at the top as well. So we do the games for the game center too. We do for the game center, we are going to paste it and import it, and then for this div, so we have the heading, we're going to add a feed, close it down here, do the same thing here, add the feed, and then we close it down here, we do the same thing here, can add the feed, and then close it down here. You go back and check, and you see everything is scrolling and fading to the top. So we refresh the page, and we have this nice looking and sweet and smooth and sleek looking website built with React and then Tailwind CSS. We have this nice looking header with this navigation tabs, and we have this text with this linear gradient with this nice looking image, and then we have this cards here as well, that when you hover on it, you get this smooth scale effect, and also this nice Call of Duty banner, and then we have this game center cards here as well, and you get this nice pulse effect when you hover on it, and this simple looking footer. And it's also responsive, it's completely mobile responsive. When you open the developer console and then you choose a mobile device here, say iPhone SE, you get this nice looking view on mobile screens, completely responsive, totally responsive. Pixel 5, you get this nice looking, and even Surface Duo gets this nice view. And you take Galaxy Fold, which is the smallest device here, you get this nice mobile screen view. So yes, if you have made it this far, congratulations, you have successfully built a sleek looking gaming website with React.js and then Tailwind CSS. We have this nice scroll effects here, and if you have done this, congratulations, well done. You now have a new project you can add to your portfolio, or you can even show to your friends or colleagues or even recruiters to show them your capabilities, etc. So hopefully you've been able to complete this project, you've learned a lot from it. And if that's the case, do well to like this video. I'm going to appreciate it a lot if you like this video. It's going to help the channel grow. And also, if you are new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel as well, and let's grow the community. You can also leave your thoughts in the comment section as well. Thank you very much for watching this video, and you can add this project to your portfolio. Catch you in the next video.